Good morning, everyone. Welcome into this day with Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Rosanna Almai Nejadi, and I am a board member here at Quimper Unitarian, and our welcome reading this morning is from the UUA Resources, written by Rachel Rott in 2019. Welcome, you questioners, seekers of truth with a capital T, pilgrims longing for sanctuary, travelers needing harbor from the storm. Welcome those who are holding on by a thread, determined breakers of the chains of loneliness and isolation. You pushed through your fear because something told you that you deserved to belong. Welcome home. Welcome those who braid ropes again and again. You've been there for our siblings who were just hanging on, and you gave them a hand into community and told them that they could rest here. Welcome, you who seek spiritual and religious community for your children and grandchildren. You entrust your young people here, and we, as a community, commit to nurture and respect them. Welcome, children and youth. You give us the gift of your wisdom, your joy, your curiosity, and your trust that we will hold it all safe. Welcome home. How do we make this tender place wider? How do we stretch into a bolder welcome, a radical generosity of the heart? Can we imagine ourselves the stewards and ushers not only of this space, but into a circle of belonging? Can we commit and recommit to being accountable to one another as an anti-racist, anti-oppressive community that centers marginalized voices of all kinds, that listens to those voices, especially when what they are saying is hard to hear? Can we be willing to change? When we break our agreements with one another, can we offer amends? Can we be humble and generous? Yes, there is enough grace here. There is in this place the possibility of healing, of repair, of making things right within ourselves, between us, and with the wider world. There is in this place possibility. There is in this place wonder for what is possible. Welcome home. Now, as we gather, I acknowledge that the water, land, and shorelines here in Port Townsend are the traditional territory of the Sklallam and Chimicum peoples. We honor and acknowledge our Indigenous members and neighbors and vow to help restore and sustain these homelands. If you are visiting today, I offer a special welcome to you and invite you to join us for refreshments and conversation in the fellowship hall, right over here at the end of this long entryway, right after the service. We have a newcomers table near the door and near the patio doors, and there will be greeters and others there ready to answer any questions that you might have. Again, welcome to you all this morning. We are so glad you're here. And now, for an announcement. The QUUF patio paving project, right out here, to be redone to meet the Americans with Disabilities Act compliant service and offer an emergency exit pathway from the foyer and from these doors to San Juan Avenue. As you notice, there's gravel here right now. Not good for wheelchairs. All of this resurfacing will begin this week, October 4th, and will last through October 13th from 9 a.m. in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. This includes the patio area along the north side of the sanctuary and to the existing patio steps and the adjoining concrete block border. There will be construction noise on some of these days, beginning with removal of the present gravel layer and cutting some concrete aprons, spreading of sand. Further work, packing the sand and laying of pavers will be less disruptive, but still disruptive. Sawing and cutting of pavers to match the curved edges of the paved area will continue through most of the project. That is to say, there will be noise, which may be disruptive to some of your activities in the sanctuary. Foyer doors will not be locked, but there will be signs. We do not suggest you go in and out those doors. You can enter and exit through the main exits here and through the back parking lot into the fellowship hall or RE. Finally, let us settle our minds and calm ourselves. Our prelude this morning will be Shebeg, Shemore.
Lovely music to start our time together. Good morning. Our opening words are by Margaret Weiss. Come into this place with your whole self, the parts that are raw and exposed, the part of you that is beaming with joy, that part of you that is seeking the truth, the new, the possible. Come into this place and open your hearts and lay down your burden. Lift up your hope because something new might happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on your journey. Some new faces, some familiar, and all welcoming you here, now to this moment. Let us come together for worship this morning. Now let us light our chalice. Yes? I left my order of service back over there. Oh, or do we sing? No, we light our chalice, right. God. I will figure this out, people. Let me tell you, I will figure this out if it kills me, and it just might. All right, let us light our chalice with these words. To love life is to love. Let's join our voices in song. Our opening hymn is The Fire of Commitment. Yes? Yes. All right, let's sing.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live from deep assurance of the flame that burns within. Then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin.
It's our time. Whew. It's our time for all ages. And hopefully I will make it safely through this. I'd like to invite any children who are here in the congregation to come forward. That includes childish and childlike people. We have a few of those maybe. People who wish they were still children. Maybe it's just a small house today, but fortunately all y'all out there can still see the story that I'm going to read. I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite stories for a very, very, very long time. Back when I used to direct a child daycare center, this was one of the books that got exceptionally tattered because along with Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Anybody else love that one? So Albert's toothache. It's a very important story. One morning, Albert Turtle complained that he had a toothache. "That's impossible," said his father, pointing to his own toothless mouth. "No one in our family has ever had a toothache." Just the same, Albert was sure he had a toothache and needed to stay in bed. All right, let's see what goes on next. "Who's afraid of a toothache?" boasted his brother Homer. "See," said Albert's father, "Homer doesn't have a toothache, and I don't have a toothache, and Maribel doesn't have a toothache, and your mother doesn't have a toothache. It's impossible for anyone in our family to have a toothache." "You never believe me," said Albert. "I'd believe you if you told the truth," said his father. "You believed Homer when he said he didn't break the window," Albert reminded his father. "I'm worried about Albert," Albert's mother said at breakfast. "You should be worried about a boy who doesn't tell the truth," said Albert's father as he left for work. "Albert just doesn't want to eat his black ants," said Maribel. "If I had a toothache, I'd still want to eat my black ants," announced Homer. "Come eat your black ants, Albert," called his mother. But Albert just moaned softly from the bedroom. Albert's mother kissed Homer and Maribel goodbye and sat down in her worrying chair. She worried and worried. She thought of something. She got up and went to work in the kitchen. "Look, Albert," she said to Albert, "I've fixed you a special breakfast of all your things: rotting oak bark garnished with sunflower seeds, a dried aspen leaf, and half a green caterpillar. Yum!" "I can't eat anything," Albert said, poking the tip of his nose out from under the covers. "I have a toothache." "Of course you don't have a toothache," said his mother. "You never believe me," said Albert. "I'd believe you if you told the truth," said Albert's mother. "You believed Dad when he said he caught a 7-pound trout," complained Albert. Albert's mother took the tray back to the kitchen and went outside to her worrying swing on the porch, and she worried and worried. Then she got a baseball and went into Albert's room. "Come play catch with me," she said. "You can teach me how to throw a spitball." "I can't teach you how to throw an old spitball," said Albert. "I have a toothache." Have you ever known that person? Anybody? Have you been that person? Anybody? "You just think you have a toothache," said his mother. "Come on, you can play catch if you try." "You never believe me," whined Albert. "You believed Maribel when she said she was the only girl in her class who didn't have a pair of black boots with zippers." This is a sad thing, isn't it? What do you think about Albert not wanting to do anything because he has a toothache? Albert's mother put the ball away and went outside to her worrying rock in the sun. And she, say it with me now, worried and worried. Yeah. Then she got a big book and took it into Albert's room. Look, Albert, I brought the family album to show you the pictures we took at Disneyland. Sit up, Albert. I can't sit up, said Albert. Why don't you believe me? And a big tear rolled down his cheek. Ah. Ah. Albert's mother put the family album away and went into the living room to lie down on her worrying sofa. She worried and worried. She was still worrying when Maribel and Homer came home. How's Albert? Asked Maribel. He still says he has a toothache, said Albert's mother. He just didn't want to fight Dilworth Dunlap, explained Maribel. Dilworth Dunlap was waiting for him after school. If I had a toothache, said Homer, I'd still fight Dilworth Dunlap. Is that son of yours still playing possum? Albert's father asked when he got home from work. Yes, said Albert's mother. I wish he would remember he's a turtle. He just knew we're having gray spider legs for dinner, said Maribel. I don't want any gray spider legs either, said Homer. Okay, there we go. After dinner, Grandmother Turtle came over with chewing gum for all the children. Can I have Albert's? Asked Maribel. Of course not. It's Albert's, said his grandmother. He won't want it. He says he has a toothache, said Maribel. Isn't that terrible? Can you believe your grandson would say such an impossible thing like that, said Albert's father. The trouble with all of you is that you never believe him, said his grandmother. Ha! The plot thickens. Albert's grandmother went into his bedroom. Well, she said, I hear you have a toothache. Yes'm, said Albert. Where do you have a toothache? Asked Albert's grandmother. On my left toe, said Albert, sticking his foot out from under the covers. A gopher bit me when I stepped in his hole. Well, I have just the thing to fix a toothache, said Albert's grandmother. She took her handkerchief from her purse and wrapped it around Albert's toe. Albert smiled toothlessly and got out of bed. And what I love about this book is that it reminds us that sometimes we have to ask some questions about what people are telling us. Sometimes we don't have the whole story, and we just need to be curious and wonder about what might be going on in their lives. So that's our story for all ages today, and I would invite the folks on the aisle to stand up and make an arch, and we will sing the children out to their classes.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
We pause now for a time of generosity and to receive an offering, which today is shared by the Food Bank and QUUF. Will the ushers please come forward? Additional instructions for giving this morning are on the screen or at the front of the sanctuary.
Before we move to, am I on? Oh, okay. Goodness sakes. Before we move on, I just want to note that one program change today is that Sandy Tweed is assisting me in worship today. She stepped in at the very last minute, so give her your gratitude for taking on this challenge this morning without having expected it when she walked in the door. We set aside time every week for the sharing of joys and sorrows. We recognize that our personal joys and sorrows are only a small part of the joys and sorrows in the larger life of the community and in the world. And so we placed the first stone this morning, thinking in particular of Jacob Johns, an indigenous climate activist, artist, father, musician, and Unitarian Universalist. We hold him in great care this morning. On Thursday, he was shot while protesting the installation of a statue of a Spanish conquistador. We place a stone holding him in our love. No joys or sorrows were shared this week with the staff, but I would ask a candle to be lit just to hold my husband as he heads into surgery tomorrow morning. That's for Peter. And then we place a final stone, holding in our hearts the unspoken joys and sorrows that are no less important than those joys and sorrows which have been shared. Thank you, Sandy. Now I invite you into a few moments of meditation and quiet. I invite you to settle into your seat as is most comfortable for you. Close your eyes, whatever helps you to be centered within yourself. Ooh, sorry. We begin with the words of Carter Hayward. She writes, "We are not automatic lovers of self, others, world, or God. Love does not just happen. We are not love machines, puppets on the strings of a deity called love. Love is a choice, not simply or necessarily a rational choice, but rather a willingness to be present to others without pretense or guile." In these moments of stillness together, let us open. Let us come into this time without pretense or guile, fully here to all that is present in us and around us. The work of love in the world is not sweet and pretty. It is not what is given to us. It is what we choose. To love the world, the grime and the loss of it no less than its wonder and loveliness, apprehending it for all that it is a choice to be fully present, no pretense, no guile. To love each other, never forgetting the priceless beauty in every face, in every heart, no exceptions. Never forgetting the brokenness sometimes abiding at the core, the source of our deepest wounds, often the source of our greatest power. Learning again and again that we are joined to one another, more alike than we are different, choosing to be present to another, choosing to be fully present to another, no guile, no pretense. This is the work of a lifetime. Let us take it up again and again with joy and intention, this day and every day. Let us pause now for a few moments of stillness together. So may it be. Amen. I think.
Our first reading today is The Question by Rosemary Watola Trommer. All day I replay these words. Is this the path of love? I think of them as I rise, as I wake my children, as I wash the dishes, as I drive too close behind the blue Subaru, slowing in front of me. Is this the path of love? Think of these words as I stand in line at the grocery store. Think of them as I sit on the couch with my daughter. Amazing how quickly 6 words become a compass, the new lens through which I see myself in the world. I notice what the question is not. Not, is this right? Not, is this wrong? It just longs to know how the action of existence links us to the path of love. And is it this? Is it this? All day, I let myself be led by the question. All day, I let myself not be too certain of the answer. Is it this? Is this the path of love? I ask as I wait for the next word to come.
Hi, everyone. You can sing along with this song if you want to, because most people like to. That's hot. Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore trees. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you miss me. When I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave the worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. just saying this. Okay, this is your last chance. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of, dream a little dream of, dream a little dream of me.
I feel like I should be in a little French cafe someplace. Anybody else here feel that? I missed my reading, so I'll just go back and do it. From This Here Flesh, Spirituality, Liberation, and Stories That Make Us, by Cole Arthur Riley. She writes, people who truly know how to wonder don't expend a great deal of energy talking about it. They're folding themselves in half to smell the sweet potatoes in the oven one more time. I no longer try to convince someone of the delight of soup dumplings. I take them to Dim Sum Garden on Race Street in Philly and let them watch me slurp. I let the steaming miracle broth run down my face and lap it up in remembrance. I think awe is an exercise, both a doing and a being. It is a spiritual muscle of our humanity that we can only keep from atrophying if we exercise it regularly. Awe is not a lens through which to see the world, but our sole path to seeing. Any other lens is not a lens, but a veil. And I've come to believe that our beholding, seeing the veils of this world peeled back again and again, if only for a moment, is no small form of salvation. As I noted, Albert's Toothache is one of my favorite books in all of the world. I actually forced my husband to listen to me read it to him, since I apparently had not done that prior to like 5 days ago. It's astonishing to me that I let it go that long. I think in some measure I love it so much because I've had that kind of conversation with people more times than I can count. Right? Right? Anyone? No? Not the kind of like, yeah? My favorite real-life story of this kind comes from John Hockenberry. Y'all remember John Hockenberry? No. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay. So John Hockenberry, an author and journalist, he worked for NPR and ABC, has written for the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the New Yorker, among many other outlets. He has reported from all over the world. But his start in journalism happened here in the Northwest when he worked for the Eugene affiliate of NPR. And he was the primary reporter for the Mount St. Helens eruption years ago. I heard him speak a couple of times, and in one of them he described how very difficult it was for him during those days to have to call in his stories to NPR. Now, if you don't know Hockenberry, which apparently none of you do, he gets around in a wheelchair. A car accident in his teens paralyzed him from the mid-chest down, and at the time of the Mount St. Helens eruptions, calling in stories from way out there in the middle of bloody nowhere was no easy thing to do. It literally meant that he had to find a payphone. Remember those? Some of us? He had to find a payphone and then figure out how to have it dialed and have the phone handed to him outside the booth, because in his wheelchair he couldn't get in. As you might imagine, those of you who've been down around Mount St. Helens, there are relatively few places even that had phone booths. And you can imagine how very difficult his job was at that time. He persevered, and eventually when he was working for NPR in Chicago, he tells the story in his memoir about being in his racing wheelchair, because he liked to go fast, and being on Michigan Avenue and zooming along, just getting up speed as he's going along, and racing this bus that was right next to him. And as he is speeding along, he's about to cross with the light, and as the bus is turning, with the bright sun right here, he realizes that the bus driver can't see him. And with all of his strength, he flings himself out of his chair and watches the bus crush it. The bus stops, realizing something has happened, and the driver gets out and sees the crushed metal under the wheels and says, "Is that your bike?" And he says, "No, it's my wheelchair." Her eyes widen, and she sits down on the bus step. Emergency services are called, and I'll let him tell the story from here. He writes, "An ambulance arrived. 2 paramedics ran over to me and asked if I had been hit by the bus. Yes, I said. Can you walk, they asked. No, I said. There didn't seem to be a way into this conversation. Look, I said, I'm a paraplegic. I tried to explain. Not necessarily, son, said the paramedic hopefully. Now lie back while we put a brace on you. It seemed cruel of me to tell them the truth. They were trying so hard to make me walk again. No, he said, that's my wheelchair, there under the bus. I couldn't walk even before it hit me. So right, have you been in that conversation? As I said with Albert, have you been in that conversation? Not unlike Albert's family dismissing his continued complaint of a toothache, the EMTs make not unrealistic assumptions, but continue with a sense of certainty that they have fully understood what's going on without the need for more information. They've got this, right? They've done this before. And when I've been in those kinds of conversations, I've felt pretty sure too. Rosemary Watola-Tromer opens the first door for how to work our way through that. Is this the path of love? She asks herself again and again, using the question as a guide for her day. Is this the path of love? What path, what action, what focus takes me towards love in this moment? And this isn't an everything is beautiful kind of love that she's talking about, I don't think. This is more what Carter Hayward suggests in the brief quote that was a part of our meditation this morning. And let me tell you, being present to another without guile or pretense is not as easy as it sounds. She says, love, like truth and beauty, is concrete. It's not fundamentally a sweet feeling, not at heart a matter of sentiment, attachment, or being drawn toward. Love is active, effective, a matter of making reciprocal and mutually beneficial relations with one's friends and enemies. Asking what the path of love might be is setting our hearts as a compass on how we are in the world, how we are in our lives, and what we are creating and recreating for ourselves and for each other. Tromer says, all day long, I let myself not be too certain of the answer. And honestly, it's just a heck of a lot easier to be right and settled in my certainty. So this is where the wonder comes in. Wonder, especially in the ways that Cole Arthur Riley describes. She says, I think awe is an exercise, both a doing and a being, a spiritual muscle of our humanity that we can only keep from atrophying if we exercise it regularly. Awe is not a lens through which to see the world, but our sole path to seeing. Any other lens is not a lens but a veil. And I've come to believe that our beholding, seeing the veils of the world peeled back again and again, if only for a moment, is no small form of salvation. That interconnected web of all existence of which we are a part. Just seeing it once in a while is a form of salvation. When I drive home from here, from this place, I greet the mountains as I drive down Hastings. Passing by fields, I glance to at the part where I can see the mountains off to my left, those mighty structures, those sisters of mine. Further along, I enter the channel of the road that is filled with tall trees, and I have a view of a particular peak right in front of me. And I don't know that peak's human name, but every day I call her sister, and I give thanks for seeing her, remembering that she and I belong to the same earth. A true confession, I am often, or perhaps always, still writing my sermons on Sunday mornings, very early. This morning, when I went into the living room of our new house, there were boxes of moonlight, distinct and bright, on the rug in the living room. I opened the door out onto the deck and stepped out to see the moon high in the sky, Venus shining nearby. Did anybody else see it this morning? Was that magic? Oh my gosh. My breath came easier, and I felt bathed in a goodness, and I felt a part of this astonishing and tired and threatened world that has given us life. And it is this, I think, that can help us in all those all too frequent moments when we get stuck. Turn to wonder, reconnecting with our essential being, our interconnectedness, always asking what the path of love might be in this very moment. I did a wedding many years ago now. The groom was an artist, and while he and the bride and I were meeting, he pulled out his phone and showed me some of his work. One small piece resonated with me especially, and then on the day of his wedding, he handed me this very small piece of paper. Here it is. It is called, if you can see the words, Viewfinder. It sits on my desk in the office here, right about eye level. And I keep it there to remind myself when I need it, which is most of the time, honestly, that I need to attend to following that path of love, keeping wonder at the heart of what I do, the miracle that we are here at all and can be. It helps me remember to be curious about my certainties and never forgetting about the moon and the mountains, the stubborn and beloved humans who populate the world, and the possibility of a community that heals and holds us when we need it most. A few months ago, I had the honor of preaching in this room for my first time at Victoria Polling's ordination. I told the story of my first encounter with a cottonwood tree and how, since my childhood, I had thought of random bits of fluff, you see them around, milkweed, dandelion, cottonwood. I thought of them as fairies who offered me a wish. And walking past a cottonwood some years ago that had just let go of all of its seed was overwhelming and astonishing and brought me back to a sense of the essential blessedness of the world. And I have to tell you, since I moved here in July, I've noticed that fairies of all sorts cross my path all the time. Anybody else? Do you guys see them? They're just like, they're every bloody where. And so I know, at least for me, the opportunities to come back to ourselves, to connect with wonder and awe, the magic, the mystery of being at all. I know that the reminders to find the path of love are all around us all the time if we pay attention. How do you turn to wonder in your life? Is it a particular vista? Is it the smile of a grandchild? The burble of laughter that comes from a beloved friend as you are sipping coffee and recounting the ridiculousness of your life? Is it in the stillness of the morning or a sliver of the moon just before you fall asleep? Whatever it is, my friends, cultivate it. Tend to the wonder of our being here at all. Find the view. Find the view and the path that leads us ever to more conscious and deep living in this blessed world of ours with these blessed companions. So may it be with us all. Amen. Yes, and it's time to sing again. And that hymn would be number, and the title would be?
Sing out praises for
Oh
the
yes,
journey.
Sing Out Praises. This is another one of my favorites. You guys get to learn what all my favorite songs are. This is awesome.
Sing out praises for the journey, pilgrims we who carry on. Searchers in the soul's deep yearnings, like our forebears in their time. We seek out the Spirit's wholeness in the endless human quest. Look inside your souls, the kindling of the hearth fire pilgrims knew. Find the Spirit always restless, find it in each mind and heart. Touch and hold that ancient yearning, kindling for a new-found truth. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown. Path behind us, wayside hostel, built by those who knew wild roads. God, we hear their sacred embers carried in our minds and hearts.
Please be seated. Just a quick program note. Y'all will notice that the postlude today is not what is reported on the order of service. Instead, it is My Blue Heaven. And oh boy, I heard him rehearse it, and are you in for a treat? Though you probably already knew that. Our closing words by my colleague, Kendall Gibbons. Finally, there is only one thing required of us. That is to take life whole, the sunlight and shadows together, to live the life that is given to us with courage and humor and truth. We have such a little moment out of the vastness of time for all our wondering and loving. Therefore, let there be no half-heartedness. Rather, let the soul be ardent in pain, in its yearning, and in its praise. Then shall peace enfold our days, and glory shall not fade from our lives. So may it be. Amen. And now, let us say our chalice extinguishing words as Sandy snuffs the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, and the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Where the little birds go when the evening is nigh, I'm happy in my blue heaven. Take a turn to the right, and a little white light will lead you to my blue heaven. You'll see a fireplace, a little place, a cozy room, and a little nest nestled where all the dandelions bloom. Ryan and me and Stella make three. We're happy in our